Hello, I'm Dr. Jerome Mahaffey. You are in a class, Communicating at Work is what I'd like to name it, but unfortunately the industry and the university calls it organizational communication. How dull is that? Well, I don't think it is very dull at all, and I really enjoy teaching the class. And I think the concepts you'll get out of this textbook, of which we're starting chapter 1 today, I think these concepts can change the way you approach work and help you advance in your career more than you know. Okay, the first idea we have to grasp here is that work is changing. It's always changing. Everything always changes, you know that. But it seems, even in my short career of 30-something years in the workforce, it's changed a lot, and it's changed very rapidly at times. And so I kind of like the weird surreal clock here kind of grasps that for me. You know, things are just moving fast, and it's expanding outward exponentially almost in terms of change, especially when it comes to technology and how technology is changing the way we communicate. Here's a nice little cartoon of the evolution of communication. They left out a step here that I'll throw in for you, and that is the invention of the phonetic alphabet that turned reading and writing from a lifetime of study of characters and pictures like hieroglyphs or even some forms of writing that are still out there today to phonetic writing, where letters, simple letters, represent sound rather than ideas. And those sounds then represent the words. It puts another step in, but it made it so simple a 4-year-old could learn. In fact, I've got a friend whose son is 2 years old that knows his alphabet already and can put all the letters, the little magnets on the refrigerator in the right order. He doesn't start in the right place yet, but he gets them in the right order. He knows the song. Okay, movable type, big advancement. Printing became more widespread because books became more widespread, so reading and literacy, all of this. And of course, this kind of makes fun of it, email down to Twitter, and who needs more than 140 characters? Well, sometimes that's all you need, but you know, I watch young people today. Here's my impression of an 18-year-old. I watched them today walking around texting all the time, and they're using a lot more than 140 characters. A lot of communication is going on, and it's happening instantaneously. My daughter's on that phone all the time, and text after text after text after text, hundreds of them in a day's time perhaps. You knew this. All right, here's a good movie I recommend. It's called Outsourced. It was on Netflix for a while. It's an older film. I think the concept of what's happening here is still very important in the world of work, but if you haven't experienced outsourcing yet, watch this film, and it has a good ending. It's a very entertaining film, well done, and it helps you understand the culture of India a little bit better, but I recommend this film. No quiz questions from the film, obviously, just for your enjoyment. It'll keep your head in the game here while you're getting away from your studies. So, the changing world of work. Here's just, we'll go through a few ideas from the textbook quickly. The idea of a worldview. Everybody has a worldview. The way you view the world, I guess, is the idea there. Some call it a paradigm. You can call it a set of cultural rules, and it gets extended into religion and law, social rules, rules about etiquette, you name it. All of this comes in, but it often comes out of a worldview that's maybe a little bit larger concept here, something a little more philosophical. Some people have God at the center of their universe, and their worldview is very theocentric. You could say other people might be atheists and put humans at the center of the universe. That would be actually humanistic. Others, machines are at the center of the world. Humans don't matter much. These are some other ways to look at worldview, but generally we kind of use this term to mean culture. What does your culture say about how the world is and how you should live and react in it? And those worldviews from any country, and if you've done any traveling overseas, you have seen this, these worldviews are different. The cultures are different. There's a great website, I think I linked to it later in the class, that actually measures some central aspects of worldview, such as collectivism versus individualism, the role of femininity or masculinity, patriarchal, matriarchal, some of these larger concepts about culture and worldview are actually measured and graphed out, and you can, if you're going to be transferred to Sweden, you can look up Sweden on this person's website and at least get an idea of what you're walking into and what to expect. Diversity is an aspect of the changing world of work. It's no longer white guys working at the factory. The nature of work is changing. Or you can have women working at the sewing sweatshop, or gender-defined roles in workplaces, and even racially defined roles. And only in Arizona in the 1970s when I grew up, every single block layer I ever saw when I started getting into construction was Mexican American. And that was a trade that they excelled in, probably because it was really hard work out in the sun, and they were lower in the social hierarchy than white people, and so they had to do the difficult, more backbreaking labor type trades. That's changing now. We're getting diversity right in the workplace, and that trade union I was a member of back then is pretty diverse itself, with lots of minorities that have entered into the union, and as well as women throughout the union, and it even calls itself an international brotherhood, and literally we can travel from country to country and find an open door at the various union halls to look for work. Interesting place, but diversity is becoming part of the workplace. I work for a college faculty now, and interestingly, the faculty in our department I'm in isn't that diverse. A good blend of men and women, but as far as international people working with us, not so much. Mostly, just call everybody American here, I guess, for that much. Okay, outsourcing. You know what this is? They send the jobs overseas. They send the jobs to Canada, to Mexico, to South America, to China. They send the jobs to India, like in the movie, and then the Indians send the jobs to China, and things get outsourced twice from the same company. And then, Sudan ever settles down, the jobs will be outsourced to Sudan. Where does this end? When the workforce that is capable of doing the work, that'll work for the cheapest amount of money, that's going to attract the outsourcing. Insourcing happens too, though, and jobs do come to the United States, or do come to your country from others, typically because they need either expertise or people who are willing to do the work for what they can pay. And there are a lot of higher end positions that it is more expensive to find somebody in Europe who can do this engineering type work, so perhaps it gets outsourced back into the United States. Every industry is a little bit different, but outsourcing and insourcing go together. You're either on one side of it or the other, and often it's both happening at once. And with international corporations today that really don't connect with any one government or country, to think that Sony as a Japanese company is kind of missing the point these days, or even the GM is American anymore. These are international corporations, and they look at the entire world as their marketplace, and they have offices all over the world, and the nationalism is really leaving them pretty quickly. This requires often multicultural management, which means you have a group of people working for you from many different cultures all over the world, or in cultures that are embedded within the dominant culture of your country. And you, as a manager, need to understand some differences there, and understand how to best accommodate's not the word, how to best assign people to work tasks that are appropriate, assign people to work tasks that their unique talents from their culture best suit them for. Some people may be better with customers than others. You recognize these things. Other people need to stay in the back and do the hands-on work. Well, that's kind of a general way of getting at this, but in multicultural management, not only do you just have to be sensitive and don't be a racist or discriminate against people, but it goes beyond that. You have, let's say a German employee. Well, Germany's been known traditionally for its excellence in engineering. Good engineers have come out of German colleges since forever. And so if you have a German engineer on your staff, it might pay to look closely at their work and note their strengths, and that they might be a good person to lead your staff. It just depends where you're at and what you're doing. But people from different cultures, from different worldviews, have different personal strengths and different cultural strengths that you do better at one aspect of the job than another. Okay, communication is changing in the workplace, and no more do we have memos, we have emails going all around. And I'm in a university, we're still doing email. Other parts of our university, the IT people do this instant chatting online with even little animated puppets that whose mouths move while they talk to each other, or type in words or talk. There's some new software called WeChat that is out now that is going crazy in China with 1 billion users, if I remember that correctly, from a grad student who just did a big study on it with me last year. And people actually just press the button, talk to their phone, and press send, and off it goes to grandma back in China. And it is either a text transcribed, or they just listen to your voice. And people carry on a conversation, it's just not live. They can still multitask while they do this. They can send pictures. I'm here having dinner, look what I ordered for lunch, take a picture, off it goes to your family, your whole network. It's kind of like Facebook on steroids right in your hand in a way. It's very interesting software, but the way we communicate is changing. Don't throw face-to-face communication out of this. And something I still do is I want to procrastinate, get away from my desk often, but I walk around the halls of the department here and chat with my colleagues and talk about just whatever, just trying to strengthen friendships and all of that. It is so easy to just stay in your office, stay in your cubicle, or only talk to the people on your work team. But don't downplay face-to-face communication, even though I better keep an eye on my email. At my job, other people need to keep an eye on texts. My wife runs a real estate business, and she has customers that only text, and they answer texts within seconds or minutes. And try to call them on the phone, and they're scrambling around and too busy to answer, but they can answer a text. It's interesting. Communication is changing. Communication methods are what we call perishable. The way we communicate today may be gone tomorrow, literally. There's a company out there, I think they were bought out by, Cisco, but it was called Destiny Conferencing. And they would set up rooms with desks and chairs to seat 30, 50, 60 people, and a wall full of one big TV screen. And over in South Africa would be another identical room with the same setup, and they're looking at you on TV and you're looking at them. And the TVs were very large, and the people you're talking to live, having a conversation, just like on Skype, but it's Skype for a room. And the people were almost life-size, about 85% of life-size that you're looking at on the TV, and the communication was instantaneous. It required 4 T5 lines, have I got that right? A lot of bandwidth required to run the system. And a lot of towns just didn't have this. Their communication is changing so quick, and I lived in a small town in Indiana and taught at a branch campus of Indiana University for 12 years. And one company came, our department chair was telling us a story, and said, well, we'd like to set up a business here in your city. What kind of internet connections have you got? Thinking of my friend who needed 4 lines to run his system. And they were told, well, you can call Comcast, and they'll set up internet for your building. And you know how Comcast is, especially if you live in an apartment and, 8 apartments are on one line, and everybody's sharing that bandwidth, and in the evenings, about 7 o'clock, you can hardly watch a video. And that's all the town had. They just hadn't kept up with the change. And their system of communication really was perishing in a real way. The company didn't set up shop there or create any jobs. Communication today transcends space and time, anywhere in the world. Face to face, just start using Skype if you haven't already. I write movie scripts as kind of as a hobby sideline, hoping to get filthy rich one day. And I talk to my co-writer Diane through Skype, face to face. And we used to, when we were in the middle of the one script, we spent hours on Skype, literally every week. And nothing replaces that face to face somehow, but now it can be through the computer, through these means of communication. Space is no matter, time is no matter. Personal speed versus size is another interesting idea. Grasp this. And here we've got the lady. Hello, my name is, admin. Her name is probably Charlotte, let's say. How can I help you today? And I've gone to a couple of websites. You start poking around on the websites, looking at things for sale, and the box pops up. Hi, can I help you find something? And it has somebody's picture. I think actually that might be their picture often, because on this next page here, you can see instructions for how to get Charlotte there, as I called her. Now, her name's probably Ashley. I don't know. And she can upload her own photo into this web software. So here's a company selling this service for your website. A lot of websites don't have this, but it's kind of interesting. It is very personal. And the idea here is companies are thriving today in this changing world that are personal with their customers. They're personal, they're quick, they can help you. I walked into Homeco yesterday to buy a drill bit and a tap so I could fix the brakes of my car. And I walked in and a guy was standing at the door. He says, "Hi, what can I help you find?" And I said, "I need a drill bit and a tap." He says, "Oh, right over here in aisle 1A. Okay, thank you. I would have wandered around the store for 5 minutes. So I walk over there, and I could hear in the background, I saw him put his finger up to his ear, press the button. Got a customer in 1A looking at drills and taps. And actually, I was expecting somebody to come help me within seconds. They didn't, kind of a failure there. I guess everybody was busy. But I have noticed that some of these stores they've really loaded up on some employees. Hardware stores, the Ace hardware stores, lots of employees, somebody there to help you. You go into some of the big box type hardware stores and you wander around the store lost, and you can't even find an employee at one particular organization. So this personal connection with the corporation is becoming very important in this world of work. But the problem is small businesses often don't have the ability to do that. It's the large companies that have money, that can pay the extra money to build the website that has the chat people built in, that can afford to hire those people, even though they may not use their real picture and they're probably working from home on their computer, wearing their pajamas. Who knows? That's all possible. Hey, some people teach online, mostly from home, wearing their pajamas or nothing at all. Like Abigail Van Buren used to write her column wearing nothing at all, she said. So the larger companies have the ability to do this in terms of finances, to be personal, but they're not very personal, especially when this lady's photo shows up on every chat invitation, and then I get somebody who's clearly with a foreign accent talking to me on the phone. So there's that balance. How do you continue to be personal, to connect with people the way they want today, yet afford to do that? And if you can afford to do that, how do you maintain that personal touch? And companies like this are finding a way to do it with letting you upload your own photo, and you really are chatting with that person on the phone or online. Okay, some larger ideas from toward the end of the chapter are what they call the new social contract. The old one was that your employer would take care of you from age 18 when your uncles got you in the union and they got you to a job at the factory until age 65 when you retire from that same factory, and with maybe only one or two short layoffs. Well, the layoffs got to be more and more in the 80s, and unions started falling apart, globalization happened, and factories have really been struggling ever since, more and more, and even saw an interesting anthropological article. It was satire of this ancient civilization that had factories, and here was this rundown factory, weeds growing everywhere and the windows all broken, and they're looking at it as if they are archaeological ruins. Well, that's not too far from the truth. The new social contract is basically you better take care of yourself. Your employer has no obligation to employ you beyond when they need you. They'll hire you when they need you. They'll pay you what as little as they can to get the job done. If they pay you any less, you won't work there, nobody else will either. They gotta pay more, and if they want higher quality workers, they need to pay more than that. So it's almost an algorithm-based pay structure for people that could be calculated by a computer and the available workforce. It's a different social contract than we've ever had. And what I like, our textbook authors point out, and I'm 100% in agreement, your connections with other people are the key to stability in work in your life. LinkedIn is a great website for like Facebook for business. Open up a LinkedIn page and start connecting with people and get to know your coworkers beyond just, oh, they're over there in that hall, I know their name and their face, if I see them again. Get to know these people. They will be your connections, you will be their connections. And you will be able to recommend them to somebody and make a friend at this other place because you recommended a trustworthy person who's competent at their job. And connections are the way of the future. Use this software that's out there and don't be such a recluse at work. Get to know people you work with. And if you're shyer, that's fine. Just get to know people one at a time. Everybody knows you're shy if you're shy and you're not real outgoing, but do develop the friendships, and they will come in handy later in your career, much sooner than you think probably with this new social contract. Last idea I see here is this, and here we're into a big economic, and I could lecture on this for hours, I could rant on this for hours I guess if I had to, but we'll try to get it down to 2 minutes. What dictates price and the direction of the economy? Is it market forces, supply and demand, capitalism as we have known it, that if there's a lot of something, it becomes cheap. If it's rare, it's more expensive. It's hard to get. It's at least has a set price, but probably a higher set price than something that's easy to get. And that's what has driven the Western market economies for quite some decades now, maybe 100 years or so. It's giving way to this idea called centralization. Centralization is where the government sets prices for things. The government tries to correct some of the unfairness that goes on with, well, the latest ones are these drug companies that charge $700 for a prescription for their drug that they have a patent on, and there are no generics for it, and so they jack the price up. Well, centralization would come in and say, no, that drug is it heals an illness, it's gonna be the same general price as all drugs that heal illnesses. We don't have that, but drugs are where this is really happening now. Price controls. And the question is the market itself, is the structure and the mechanism of the market adequate for maintaining a healthy economy, or does it take human intervention to set prices and to set conditions? And are humans even smart enough to understand the complexities of an economy and actually do this? And I fall down in the camp that says, no, we're not quite smart enough. It is too complex, and almost every policy that governments put into place doesn't work. Give it time and it just deteriorates and ultimately fails. And right now, in the news, Venezuela is a failed state with a failed economy. And the economies that seem to be doing best are those that really let capitalism and market forces help set prices and wages within an economy. Yet you have corruption that goes on too, and that's been the rap against capitalism, is just gets corrupt, and you got lobbyists, and the lobbyists are lobbying Congress to change the laws to help the corporations, and we want to get rid of that. Well, these are really hard issues, and we're just throwing this idea out there to just think about it. Bernie Sanders ran for president this year. He is not in the race now as of this filming, and that's another story. He was a declared socialist, a democratic socialist, like FDR, and he wanted socialism for this country and was not ashamed to talk about it, and young people embraced it, and most of his followers were young, and my daughter was among them. We talked a lot about Bernie in our house, and I appreciated Bernie's honesty, though I don't think I can be a socialist. I know I can't go there, but I'm one of the old guys now, and the young people are taking over the world, the millennial generation, and Bernie probably won't run again in 4 years, but another socialist candidate will. And he may be a lot more articulate than Bernie and better looking. You gotta be good looking to win elections these days, and socialism isn't gone, it's growing, and it is something we're gonna think about. Do we want a centralized economy where the government sets the prices for everything, taxes heavily to provide benefits elsewhere, and tries to balance out things? Sounds nice. Are they smart enough to do it? Well, nobody's really succeeded yet who hasn't kept a good dose of capitalism running right alongside of it. We'll see what the future brings. All right, so thanks a lot for watching. I hope I'm not too long-winded here, and that the information in the textbook is valuable to you. You have a great day. We'll talk to you later.